Well, it's been an absolute honour to stand beside Megan today and walk her down the aisle, and to stand in front of all of you and express my gratitude for coming. We know it's not supposed to be me that's standing here today. Meg, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that Dad would be proud of the woman that you've become. From a little girl who hated pink, making slap dab in the back garden and following Dad around the house doing DIY, to the beautiful, intelligent, kind force of nature that you've become. You've built a life that is everything Dad could have ever wished for you. A man who loves you unconditionally. Just so happens to be the only man alive that can drink your drink for drink. Almost. Two phenomenal daughters who spread joy and wonder wherever they go. A successful career, surrounded by friends who love you and family that adore you. But to me, in my heart, you'll always be the little girl sitting in the back garden making slap-dab pies covered in mud. Giving away his little girl would have been hard, but placing your hand into a man like that of George, who I know would become a favourite drinking buddy and second son, would have made it a lot easier. George, I'd like to finally and officially welcome you into the family, even though you've been part of it for quite a while now. I think you've been with Megan long enough, and I've given you plenty of warnings, but from this day on, there is no more sympathy. You got yourself into this one. From the glow that Megan radiated the first time she introduced us, I knew that you were going to be a special person in Megan's life. Little did I know at the time that the glow was actually a sign I was about to become an uncle.
I've known Megan for over 30 years, and I remember our first meeting quite clearly. She was 5. She'd fallen and banged her head. Lynn had to leave work to rush and collect her from Mrs Smith's school in Great Houghton. She returned with Megan, who was wearing a rather unflattering graze to her forehead, and it was rapidly developing into an egg. I was impressed with her bravery. Over the many years, Megan has shown bravery on many occasions, but she's also demonstrated herself to be loyal, clever, funny, but to name a few of her strengths. It was many years before I met George. I'm sure he remembers our first meeting. I think there was gin and interrogation. He was brought to our house for lunch in the early summer of 2017. This was also to be his first meeting with Lynn. Again, the word brave comes to mind. I must admit that by the end of our afternoon together, I liked George immensely. He came over as open, honest, caring and funny. And I was actually hopeful that he might be the one for our Megs. So, over the last 6 years, I've seen them develop as a family unit, producing 2 beautiful daughters, tackling new challenges, embarking on new activities together, including canoeing, paddleboarding, and most recently skiing. I believe that the love Megan and George share is very special and brings to mind a section from a book I read many years ago. An excellent book, which was then turned into one of the most disappointing films ever, Captain Corelli's Mandolin. In the novel, Louis de Bernière describes love thus: "Love is a temporary madness. It erupts like a volcano and then subsides. And when it subsides, you have to make a decision. You have to work out whether your roots have so entwined together that it is inconceivable that you should ever part, because that is what love is. Love is not breathlessness, it is not excitement, it is not the declaration of promises of eternal passion, it is not the desire to mate every second minute of the day. It is It is not lying awake at night imagining that he is kissing every cranny of your body. No, don't blush. I'm telling you some truths. That is just being in love, which any fool can do. Love itself is what is left over when being in love has burned away. And this is both an art and a fortunate accident. So, putting Captain Corelli aside, though we all may believe being in love is great, I believe Meghan and George are fortunate enough to also share love itself.